to explore, learn, and improve. Previously, in our episode with Mr. Chad Nathan Belleza, he shared his experiences as a part of the Latin Mass Society of Saint Ferdinand.
As a server of Latin Mass Society of Saint Ferdinand, my experience is that it was actually more reverent. And because it's a practice in the Latin Mass Society of Saint Ferdinand to pray before the Mass. In my experience as a server, I see that discipline is being observed and being taught.
Learning kulitan at aaguman sinupan singsing?
I didn't only learn from the church, but actually through the church, I am currently attending the Aguman Sinupan Singsing. Though secular, have many members who are altar servers. Their operations became regular in operating in the Aguman Sinupan Singsing. Our first topic then was what eno biya sa mga Pampangan ding anak, or why are modern Kapampangans or why are the youth are not knowledgeable in speaking Kapampangan.
And also other services that he does for the church.
I was serving here in San Roque Parish, first as an altar server, and later on also as a member of the San Roque Parish Youth Choir. Whereas then I was in that center, then now I am currently in the base. I actually learned through serving the church how to play the organ, because when I was serving as a member of the San Roque Parish Youth Choir, our choir master, Sir Jonathan Bulaon, was usually playing the piano. It's more simpler to play the piano than other instruments, so why don't I try playing?
And today, we will continue to know more about him and about his ways to create liturgical vestments, and of course, the fabrics that he uses in Casa de Ignazio traditional ecclesiastical vesture. So stay with us here in Sensei, their skills and talents.
Matanong ko na din, saan ba galing yung pangalan the Casa de Ignazio, traditional ecclesiastical vesture?
Anong galing ang name na Casa de Ignazio? Because first, the term Ignazio, it was actually the name of my patron saint, Saint Ignatius of Loyola, because I was inspired by his life story of he was a fighter, but at the same time he was also a sinner, that he is often with women, he often drinks, and one day in the Battle of Pamplona, his leg was hit by a cannonball, and therefore he stopped fighting as a soldier there. And he had to face an operation with no anesthesia where he is biting onto something, and just imagine kung gaano kasakit ang operation na walang anesthesia. Oh my. Then Saint Ignatius converted because he was in a room, he read the life of Jesus and the lives of the saints. And imagine that, let me try to mimic their holiness, therefore making myself holy. And therefore, he became a pilgrim and later on became a priest, founded the Society of Jesus, and yeah. And the term Casa, because from the term house, whole term of Casa de Ignazio is in Italian. And therefore, Casa de Ignazio is directly translates as House of Ignatius. So, why did I enter that term traditional? I don't only make the Roman chasubles, which is actually the newest form, but because the older versions are conical, and older versions were Gothic, and older than Gothics are the conicals, or more of a poncho-like, which is of a cone shape that is often lumalagpas sa yung kamay, yung kailangan mo pang kapitin na paano. So, traditional in a sense that susundan ko yung how they were traditionally portrayed, like yung how Gothic chasubles often have the Y or frieze in them and the conicals, and how Roman chasubles have many variations like Roman, Italian, and Italian also has 3 major variations. Also French, which is often the cross in the back and the pillar in the front, and also the common ones of Spanish cut, which is the Spanish variation of the Roman cut, which has a round neck and mostly called as a guitar for its shape in the back and the front, a pear or guitar-like shape. That's what I usually make from the term traditional. That's how I make it. I follow how it is originally made according to old records, so that in the new age I can reintroduce or revive the idea of how vestments are made in the old age and reintroduce it so that priests today can appreciate the beauty of these traditional style vestments.
Do you want to watch more Limang Siglo and Sensei videos? Visit our social media accounts and don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe. You're still watching Sensei Season 3, Their Skills and Talents.
What are the things or materials that you're using to create your vestment?
Oh.
Mga material.
First, I started with Spanish. Actually, I can show it to you. I with rather Chinese. These are one of the Chinese fabrics. It also has another variation of the flowers type, they are very beautiful and not that shiny. Which is, I can say, very beautiful. And considering it of the cross design, this was actually my first choice, but back then I cannot find it. I opted for the flower design, which was actually more appropriate for it. It gives the effect of how designs back then usually uses the floral design for their vestments. Then after that, other materials that I use for fabrics is this. This is Indian fabric. This is the one that they often like best. This one is from India. Just as you can see, it is very appropriate for liturgical functions because of how it has the process designs. And also in here, this is a damask fabric, which is often used in vestments that are made in Italy, in US, among others. And the damask fabric, this one was also obtained from India, though I also have some from Spain and China. I often order these fabrics online, though I prefer shopping for these fabrics in a local way, whereas you will see them face to face, so that you can see its quality, its color. But since I know some people from there, I can say that I will see this fabric, that they are good. And also, the last variation of fabric for main fabrics is the locally acquired. This one is a damask design brocade fabric that I got somewhere in NCR. So those are the main fabrics, and these vestments need to be stiff, especially the stoles, the manifolds. And therefore, I use a stiffener, which is called pelon. This one is a pelon, or sometimes I use sanforized, but for this one, I use pelon. Pelon, this one is a fusible pelon, whereas when you iron it, the fabric will stick to it. And the pelon, it serves that it will make the vestments or the thing that I'm sewing stiffer, so that it will not be very soft, because when we see silks, let's take this for example, they often move, and to make a good balance and to make it very flat, so in a way that it will be very beautiful and balanced in design, I often use this, which is the pelon. And lastly, or second to the last, the lining. This lining is made out of cotton, though I can also use some silks, but I often use cotton. This cotton is also ordered locally. And cotton linings are actually preferable because it's more breathable, and I have obtained back then an antique piece of a chalice veil with gold embroideries, and that chalice veil also has cotton lining, though, and the main fabric is silk. Lastly, the material that I use is of course the trim. It adds the beauty and at the same time it holds the fabric design, the fabric. Sorry. In this design, this is this. It's also called as galone or simply trim. These trims, like I said, adds design, but at the same time it's also functionable because first point is that it holds the lining, and at second it holds the entire vestment together, especially when it's holding the Roman chasuble, whereas you have to stick the back to the front because you have to sew it in the front. It holds it very well, and also it adds the beauty. The design is very beautiful, for it sometimes comes in gold or silver. And yeah, those are the materials that I use for these vestments. My common projects are usually low mass sets, whereas the typical chasuble and stole with maniple, chalice veil, and pearls, where this is a chalice veil, by the way, often takes me around 2 weeks to 1 month, depending on the availability of the materials and schedule. And often solemn mass sets, which is often biggest projects, it takes me around 1 to 4 months to finish, depending on also on the availability of the materials and my schedule. For I also am a student. Like I said before, I'm also a student. But even though as a student, I can balance these works. I manage my time often in the morning because our classes are cut into two parts, especially currently because of new normal. In the morning, we will have the on-site where we have to physically go to school and study there. And on the afternoon, we have the off-site, whereas we will answer those that we have to answer. And usually, I answer them very quickly, or if I cannot answer them on the off-site, I often do them right before my deadline. But even though I do it right before my deadline, most of my school projects are finished, and therefore the time remaining is the time that I use for making these vestments. And for making these vestments, since it is very simple, like I said before, it takes me around 2 weeks to 1 month. And that's how I manage my time. In the morning and early afternoon, I do my schoolworks, and after that, I sew these vestments. And often on Sundays, after I go home after the Mass, I will sleep. Then when I wake up, I will be sewing a bit. I'm just going to sew one piece so that I can enjoy Sunday as a day of rest.
Looking for a solemn mass set or traditional liturgical vestment maker? Visit the Casa de Ignazio Ecclesiastical Vestments Facebook page and inquire now. Do you want to watch more Limang, Siglo, and Sensei videos? Visit our social media accounts and don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe. You're still watching Sensei Season 3, Their Skills and Talents.
You're doing a lot of things as a student, as a personal observer, and being part of the Latin Maritime. And of course, doing this in Casa de Ignazio. Is there anything that you can say or parang encourage the other youth to do the same thing, like serve the church and being able to manage the school and other things that they can give more or to somehow uplift our faith to Christ?
First, love yourself, because if you do not love yourself, how can you love others? Also, by loving yourself, it's not being selfish. And that leads us to the second point. Loving yourself will drive you to do your passion, to do what you want, do your aspirations, to do what you dream of. And these dreams, don't just let them be dreams. Make them your ambitions, and make sure that this is where you are going. And my next point is to serve God. And you can also serve God not only by serving the church, but by also simply going to Mass, teaching others about Christ, especially those who are preparing to receive their first sacraments, especially those who are younger or in elementary. And also learn how to socialize. Because personally, back then, when I was young, I was often called as a loner by my grandparents. And just look at how I developed from that stage to what I am today. Just try to go slowly, and you don't have to talk to many people. Just talk to those whom you can trust and those whom you believe can improve you. And that leads us to another point, whereas don't forget to take a break, because when you often work and study, it will make you stressful, and when you are stressful, you will have trouble, and it will appear in your physical appearances, and in your emotional state will be affected as well. And by taking a break, it doesn't mean that you are giving up, but it means that I can do this, and I just need a little break so that I can regain my energy to keep on going to what I want to do. And my last point, be responsible in a way that you can do what you want, but also that you are not hurting others. Because back then, I saw these people that, yes, they are only doing what they want, but at the same time, they are also harming others, either verbally or sometimes even physically. I can sense that their lack of responsibility in what they do. And therefore, I said to myself, to combat this, I will be responsible in a way that I will be a good example to others, that they will also be an example, therefore making a chain reaction of being good and being a virtuous person. It will all drive you to God, it will lead you to Christ, and eventually lead us to our end, which is God. In conclusion, love yourself, love others, serve God, be responsible, and never forget to take a rest. This will help the youth of today.
If there are 3 words that you can describe your experiences sa mga ginagawa mo, parang, ano kaya yung 3 words na yun to describe all those things na parang na-experience mo and how it taught you?
These 3 words, ang masasabi ko is magtiwala, manalangin, at makisama. Magtiwala tayo sa Diyos at sa ating kapwa-tao in a way that it will help us, especially that currently that mental health issues are being more frequent. I can say na magtiwala tayo, hindi lamang dahil gusto nating may makausap, pero dahil gusto rin natin na ma-improve ang ating sarili. We want to improve ourselves. Manalangin. Dahil ang Diyos ang siyang pinagmulan nga pinagmulan ng ating talento, at siya rin namang pinag-aalayan natin nitong mga talento, at siya rin huling kahantungan ng ating buhay. Manalangin tayo upang manghingi ng inspirasyon sa Diyos, and at the same time, bilang pagpapasalamat sa Kanya, maaari tayong manalangin sa ating mga sarili, sa ating bahay, either when we begin our day, before we sleep at night, before we face some examinations, some interviews, among others. At makisama sa kapwa mo tao, but wag mong lilimutan na magtiwala ka sa Diyos. sapagkat sila rin ang tutulong sa iyo sa buhay na ito, dahil this life is a journey. And what makes travel is not about where we came from or what's our destination. It's always about the journey. It's what makes us to who we are and makes us what we ought to be as a person, as a server, and as people in this world.
Looking for a solemn mass set or traditional liturgical vestment maker? Visit the Casa de Ignazio Ecclesiastical Vestments Facebook page and inquire now. Thank you for joining us in this Sensei episode. We hope that you were inspired by the story, service, and words we heard from Mr. Nathan Belleza. See you again next week for another Sensei episode. And we will continue to explore, learn, and improve, because life is a continuous learning process. This is Sensei, their skills and talents.